Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So before we enter into the nectar of Srila Prabhupada's books, does anybody have a meditation that they engage in before they embark on reading Srila Prabhupada's books? So it's interesting to note, we're going to read this now, and it will apply to us in some way. We may be experiencing some difficulty with something, or some doubt. Something anyway, some lingering effect of the material energy is there in the consciousness. And Krishna is going to speak to us now through the words of his pure devotee, and it will address that particular thing. So we'll go through it now, and if everyone can reflect on that, and then we can share at the end, how did you connect to that? Maybe it won't be relevant, but quite often it is, you know. Sometimes you have to read for an hour, and then you come across points that are relevant. Or sometimes if you're really in a tight situation, you can only read for 5 minutes, and then those 5 minutes, Krishna can speak so much if you're fully engaged in his service. Is it text 8?
7.
Okay. So I'll run through the Sanskrit and then we can stop it. 10? Is it 10? Yeah, 10's got a purple. Okay. Savai param babod raja panjo dravida sattama indrajumna iti kyato vishnu vrata parayana. This Gajendra had formerly been a Vaishnav and the king of a country known as Pandya, which is in the province of Dravida, South India. In his previous life, he was known as Indrajumna Maharaj. Is he the same Indrajumna Maharaj with Lord Jagannath?
That's what I've been wondering.
Oh. Any idea?
But it says South India, so I'm not sure.
Arisa's South India, isn't it?
No, this is in the like Mayapur, I think, one of the ones.
Okay, next one. Sa ekadaradana kala atmavan grihitamo navrata ishvaram harim jatadarastapas apluto chuntam samachayam asakula chalashrama. Indra Jumna Maharaj retired from family life and went to the Malaya hills where he had a small cottage for his ashram. He wore matted locks on his head and always engaged in austerities. Once, while observing a vow of silence, he was fully engaged in the worship of the Lord and absorbed in the ecstasy of the Godhead. Yadrichaya tatrama yasamuni sangamana chishugunai parishrita tam vikshat tushnam akritadanam dikam rahashupasitam rishi chukopaha. While Indrajumna Maharaj was engaged in ecstatic meditation, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the great sage Agastya Muni arrived there, surrounded by his disciples. When the Muni saw that Maharaj Indrajumna, who was sitting in a secluded place, remained silent and did not follow the etiquette of offering him a reception, he was very angry. Okay, responsibly. Tasma iman sapam adad asado. Tasma imam shapam adad asado. Ayam duratmakrita buddhya aja. Ayam duratmakrita buddhya aja. Vipravamananta vishattatam tamishram. Vipramanta vishattam tamishram. Yata gaja sabda mati sa eva yatha gaja sabda mati sa eva tasma imam shapam adadasado ayam duratma krita buddhe aja vipramanta vishatam tamishram yata gajastabda matisa eva tasma imam shapam adadasado ayam duratma krita buddhe aja vipravan vamanta vishatam tamishram yata kajastabda matisa eva tasmai mam shapam adad asado ayam duratma krita buddhya aja viparamanta vishatam tamishram yata gajastabda matisa eva madhimam shapam adad asado ayam vipravamanta vishatam tamishram yata gajastabda matisa eva tasmai unto Maharaj Indradyumna iman this shapam curse adad he gave a sadhu not at all gentle. I am this duratma degraded soul, akrita without education, buddhi his intelligence, aja now, vipra of a Brahmin, aramanta vishatam. Vishatam, let him enter. Tamishram, darkness. Yata, as. Gaja, an elephant. Stabdamati, possessing blunt intelligence. Saha, he. Eva, indeed. Agastya Muni then spoke this curse against the king. This king, Indradyumna, is not at all gentle. Being low and uneducated, he has insulted a Brahmin. May he therefore enter the region of darkness and receive the dull, dumb body of an elephant. Responsibly. Agastya Muni then spoke this curse against the king. This king, Indradyumna, is not at all gentle. Being low and uneducated, he has insulted a Brahmin. May he therefore enter the region of darkness and receive the dull, dumb body of an elephant. An elephant is very strong. It has a very big body and it can work very hard and eat a large quantity of food, but its intelligence is not at all commensurate with its size and strength. That's a nice word, eh? Commensurate. Not matching. Thus, in spite of so much bodily strength, the elephant works as a menial servant for a human being. Agastya Muni thought it wise to curse the king to become an elephant, because the powerful king did not receive Agastya Muni as one, is obliged to receive a Brahmin. Yet, although Agastya Muni cursed Maharaj Indradyumna to become an elephant, the curse was indirectly a benediction. For by undergoing one life as an elephant, Indradyumna Maharaj ended the reactions for all the sins of his previous life. Immediately after the expiry of the elephant's life, he was promoted to Vaikuntha to become a personal associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, in a body exactly like that of the Lord. This is called Swarupya Mukti. Om Ajnanatimilanda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Kadati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gauravacharinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When you get cursed to become an elephant, do you become an elephant immediately, or do you live your rest of your life as a human, and then when you die, you come back as an elephant?
Good question.
When you're awarded one of the muktis, Sarupya, Salokya, Samisti, living on the same planet, having the same form, having the same opulence, and when you get one of those liberations, it's eternal. So does that mean that that's where you fell from in the first place?
Sounds very complicated. Do these details really matter?
Well, in the sense that we tend to hear things and just accept them, but we don't really ponder on it, you know. And it is nice just to have faith, but you may find if you just have faith and somebody asks you, you know, what's all this about? And you say, well, you just have to believe it and hope for the best. It may not be very convincing for you, you know. What would you say, Simon? If you've got the marathon coming up, you may find yourself being confronted with a philosophical issue.
It kind of makes me think that, you know, sometimes Krishna comes in these forms of like, you know, Nrsimhadev or something to actually bewilder the atheists so they continue being atheistic, you know. Something like that. I'm not, you know, trying to explain to someone the curse of coming back as an elephant because we upset like one sage. I mean, trying to explain that to an average person on the street might be a little complicated as well, because then they're going to like, well, why is the sage getting angry? You know, why is he becoming an elephant? I don't even believe that there's elephants in the spiritual world. You know, so many things could come up. You know?
Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada implies at the end that it was a blessing. Like Narada Muni, it was a blessing. What was the blessing? Narada Muni cursed somebody, and it was a blessing for them.
Elkuvara Maragriva, you got a blessing to see the Supreme Lord.
So they say that these great sages are Trikaligya, so they are aware of what's going to happen when they do it, you know. Sometimes they curse somebody and then the person pleads with them, and then they say it's okay, it'll be a blessing for you as well. They kind of fine-tune it. I don't know if that's what happened with Indradyumna and Agastya Muni. And then you think also, wouldn't Agastya Muni also be in trouble for wrongly cursing somebody that was innocent? Same as Shringi, he was in trouble because he cursed. But what he actually got for that? But he wasn't very happy with himself when he came back and told his father what he'd done. And the problem with cursing somebody is that when you curse them, you lose your sukriti, you lose your pious merit. So they say anger is harder to control than sex desire. When something gets you angry, to be able to control that. So if you do achieve a Sarupya Mukti, then the Lord is so powerful that he can make that your eternal position from then on. That's the nature of Krishna can do that, nobody else can do that. Or Narayan can do that, Vishnu Tattva can do that. So Prabhupada says the elephant is strong and it can eat a lot of food, but it's not as clever as it is big and strong. So that's the problem we have in human society. People that are very big and strong are pushing people around who aren't. And it's not necessarily that just because they're big and strong that they're better than somebody else. But it's becoming like animal society now. So whoever is the strongest and loudest, that is explained in the 12th canto, is it? Predictions of the future. It says leaders will be voted in accordance with their audacity. So the more outrageous they are, the more people will follow them, you know. Although the volume of their voice is very loud, when it comes to actually backing that up, you know, if they start a war, they won't be at the head of the army. So the Agastya Muni thought it wise to curse the king, which is interesting because it wasn't just that Agastya Muni was angry. So whether he could foresee that the king would have some difficulty in his sadhana, and this was an event that took place to allow him to intervene and speed up his process. So he thought it wise anyway to curse him, become an elephant. So it's not like generally when you do something when you're angry, you don't think at the same time, this will be a good thing to do, right? So it wasn't a normal angry outburst. So although Agastya Muni cursed Indrajit to become an elephant, the curse was indirectly a benediction. And so Gajendra, toward the end, he realized that this was a benediction. He remembered his prayers from when he was king in Indrajit. And after the expiry of the elephant's life, he was promoted to Vaikuntha to become a personal associate. So I was just listening this morning to Srila Prabhupada, and he was saying that Krishna can hear you wherever he is. He's all cognizant. So would that apply also for Gajendra, if we're hearing about him now?
If someone has Swarupya and they have the similar form to the Lord, does that mean they have the similar qualities? Or is it just the literal their form, like their shape, their body?
Well, we all have, is it 78%? We have a finite amount. Do you know what it is, John?
Is it 54?
No, it's 78.
78.
Yeah, it's quite high. We have a high proportion. Is it 78? He doesn't know because he's not listening anyway, he's asleep. So we do have it, but in minute quantity. And but I read that sometimes Krishna can just give the jiva the ability just for a few seconds to experience what it's like to be all cognizant like him. He can share that ability. Interesting. Because Brahma is cognizant of the entire universe. He's aware. We're talking about Brahma right now. Brahma's hearing us. He's aware that we're talking about us, meditating on him. He's aware of that. And the soul, when it's completely unfettered by material contamination, Srila Prabhupada said it shines 10 million times brighter than the sun. So that means the soul is going to be brighter than Lord Brahma. So if Lord Brahma is aware of everything going on in the universe, then certainly the essence of Vaikuntha must be as well. Interesting, right? See, we're aware of things through our senses, but Krishna is aware of things through our senses as well. But he's more aware than we are. It's like having this amazing telescope and we're looking through it. But because our vision is already blurred, then what you see through the telescope is limited, you know. But Krishna can use your body like a lens to perceive things much better. And that's what Guru Tattva is. Guru is, Krishna is using the jiva to communicate. And that's why when you come in contact with your spiritual master, he'll say just what it is that you need to hear. And everyone can be in the room and they'll all hear something different that is relevant to them. And the spiritual master isn't consciously aware, but he's being used by Krishna to speak whatever it is you need to hear. So, we just said at the beginning of the class that one meditation for class is to be thinking, what is the Bhagavatam telling me? How does this relate to me? So we'll start with Jayananda Prabhu.
So you want to know how this relates to me?
If it does, yeah. If it strikes a chord in the heart. So just to run through it so we can see if it does with you as well. So Agastya Muni cursed the king. He says, because you're low and educated, then you can take the body of an elephant. And then the Purport Prabhupada says the elephant is very big and strong and eats a lot of food, but it doesn't have a matching amount of intelligence. So in spite of having great strength, an elephant can be used as a menial servant for a human being. Whereas, you know, obviously the elephant is more intelligent than you can armor being bossed around by this guy. So Agastya Muni, he thought it wise to curse the king to become an elephant, but indirectly that was a benediction, because by undergoing one life as an elephant, he would finish all his reactions and he would go back to Vaikuntha. He achieves Surupyamukti. So we're just thinking, how does that, whenever we read the Bhagavad Gita, then something generally resonates with us all. That's just what I need to do. So before we start reading, if we pray like that, please allow me to hear this nicely so that we'll address wherever the announcers are that are challenging me right now. So did you have anything?
I just think it's sort of noteworthy that Agastya Muni's cursing, but it could be a benediction as well. It's sort of noteworthy that there's sort of like two sides to it, isn't there? There's the curse side and the benediction side to it.
And to us, how does that relate? That if we experience some tribulation, then it could be a good side to it.
Yeah, well, tribulation is supposed to be Krishna's mercy, aren't they? Really. So.
Yeah, if we process it properly, whatever environment we're in, then we can always see it. Okay, so that's a good one. Thank you. You don't have, if you can't think of one, then if you can.
Hare Krishna.
Ishans is going to be the best because he's leaving to the last.
I was thinking of when we gain that vision, then we can see all these difficulties and suffering and calamities actually as a blissful experience. Of same as maybe it is a tough time on the Sankirtan,
But if you only enjoy whenever we get a book or we get a big donation, and then on the other side, we can see that when people say no, it is also Krishna's mercy, right? But we don't, if we don't see that actually, if we see that actually both of these things are Krishna's mercy, then it can change your whole vision and kind of like perspective. So it can be blissful all the time. So
Yeah, and how do you do that? I mean, I've found a way recently, and it's been really, really helpful how to do that. How do you do that? How do you remain blissful when people are telling you to get lost? Have you not worked that one out yet? Anyone worked it out yet?
there's a lot of ego, I think, involved at the beginning, but you have to go a little bit through that process of suffering and realizing, and then when you're like humble, then you start to become more blissful, kind of like, the humility comes on.
Yeah, it could take a while. I've been trying to be humble for a long time, and still takes a while to be very humble. But one thing that you can do immediately is you can just thank them. Say, oh, hey, listen, have a nice day. Thank you anyway. And they really appreciate that. If you say to them, have a nice day, because you've approached them and they've refused you, then they feel guilty. Just like if a tramp approached you and you said no, even though you know he's going to spend it on bad things, still you feel guilty. You feel kind of bad, that you haven't been nice to him. And then if the tramp says to you, oh, okay, well, have a nice day, then you think, oh, that was nice. He's still okay with me, even though I didn't give him anything for his alcohol. And then, so then you feel okay. And if you're making people feel okay, then you feel okay. But if you're making people feel upset because you become disturbed when they say no, then you'll start feeling more and more. You'll lose more and more of your energy, more and more of your sparkle. Your Sankirtan sparkle will become duller and duller, It is hard to, because I was thinking, great, that's what I'm going to do from now on. And on Saturday, it was wearing a bit thin, to say the least. I was kind of like, Shishikunitai Maya Pashashi Kijai. I was kind of like, have a nice day. And then after a while, I did start feeling like genuinely meaning it again. And then when the people were saying no, I was like, okay, well, have a nice day. I'm happy with you. I'm still going to be nice with you and friendly with you. And immediately then the consciousness came back up again, So it's how to forewarned is forearmed. So how to forearm yourself so that you don't take it negatively. Because if you do, you will lose energy, you'll lose confidence. And an hour of people saying no, it's like an hour of being hit on the head with a big sledgehammer. After an hour, you don't feel like doing anything, right? Just feel like taking a couple of paracetamol. So it's how to be able to avoid that negative reaction that's created by people not complying with what we want them to do. And it does take humility, but we may discover that we don't have it. Oh, I'm not actually very humble at all. May become aware of that. Isha bro, how about you?
Yes.
Very good. I was just reflecting on what we was just talking about. Sometimes, it's going really well on the street, maybe the first hour or two. And then it starts getting, you have an hour of a tufty hour. But that tufty hour still feels quite good, all the nose, they feel like flower petals, they don't feel like thunderbolts. I've experienced that once or twice. Very, very, very few and far between, but sometimes it can be, as you say, you're still having nice interactions with people and they're leaving off favourable. But you start the day with no, 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 no. It just drags you down and down and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, reflection on this. It was just you know, it basically feels like he's talking about Vaishnava Parad, you know, like the way we treat with the devotees, not being respectful and stuff, and definitely, feel like speaking to me directly through that. And we're not going to get cursed by devotees. Most devotees don't curse anyone, but you never know what some Mooney might do. You can see our behaviour. So it's there's a lot. I think there's a lot of stories in the Bhagavatam that is kind of giving us a little pointer to what we shouldn't be doing. And what we should be doing.
Interestingly enough, I was reading this morning in non-violent communication, and it says when you get angry at somebody for what they do, take a step back and look at the needs and feelings that you're experiencing that are causing you to be angry. So rather than blaming the person for making you angry, blame yourself for getting angry at the person. What's the person done that's made me become angry? What are my feelings? What are my needs? And then if you say to the person, you just slammed the door. I told you 100 times, don't slam the door. And when you slam the door, because I like things to be peaceful and I like to go into meditation, because I'm reading when you do it and I like to be deeply absorbed. When you do that, it's like breaking my heart. My heart shatters into 1,000 pieces when you slam the door. So you've told the person your needs and you've told the person your feelings. And then the person has got a good chance of coming back compassionately and saying, oh, sorry, did you tell me 100 times? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize that that's what I did to you. I'll make sure I don't do it again. Or you can have a tragic expression of your needs, tragic because it will never get met. You turn around and say, you fat pig, you're like a big elephant. You're so stupid. I've told you 100 times. Stop slamming the door. So the person, he doesn't focus on that your heart gets shattered to 1,000 pieces. He focuses on that you've called him a fat elephant. And then immediately his response will be defensive. You're saying, fat elephant, you should look at yourself. You look like a fat family of elephants combined into one body. So then nobody gets anywhere. The door will keep getting slammed. He'll be offended. They'll be offended. Everyone will be offended. And then we don't go forward, So non-violent communication is when the person expresses himself. Like there was this one woman, they went on this retreat together, this boot camp thing. And then at the end they had an exercise where they all had to go up and just say exactly what they thought of each other, So this one woman went up to the other one and she said, why don't you stop trying to be this do-goody, this librarian that you think you are, and just be real, So this woman was traumatized by it, for 12 years after that. It just kept going through her mind. I should have said this, I should have said that. How dare she say that, And she was at a non-violent communication meeting. And they were trying to analyze where are the feelings and needs behind when somebody expresses themselves. And she was thinking this person was expressing, I need to have a real relationship with you. I value you as a friend. I want to have you as a friend. And the way you're behaving right now is not allowing that connection to take place. And immediately after the non-violent communication meeting, she ran out. She's trying to find this person who'd been the only friend in her life, to want to have a real relationship with you. She was trying to connect with her because she'd just misunderstood, and she'd not seen what was behind the words, the real message that was being communicated. So these systems and techniques, which are psychological, are very useful for us as devotees because we deal a lot of the time with psychology, with other people's psychology and our own psychology. Why do things annoy us? Why don't we get on with certain people? We have to try and figure that out. I mean, Rupa Goswami is saying we should engage in loving exchanges. Srila Prabhupada says we shouldn't offend anybody. We should be humble. But how do we do that from where we are? How do we go from A to B? How do we bridge the gap? And when that Maharaj was here with the only has one leg, he was giving a talk in Om Sri Om. He says, put your hand up if you're interested in psychology. And I think one or two people put their hands up, and he goes, well, I think everyone should be interested in psychology. If you're taken to a spiritual movement, it's a very integral part of the whole process, psychology. So it behooves us to become conversant with how to deal with our own emotions and how to deal with other people's emotions in such a way that nobody gets cursed, everybody can proceed nicely. And as soon as cursing goes on, then there's counter cursing, and we don't go forward. Everybody isolates themselves, and it's just Maya's way of trying to break down the unified effort of the Sankirtan movement. If the focus is on assisting Srila Prabhupada in the most important service, which is the distribution of his books, preaching, it's interesting, isn't it? Preaching is the essence, purity is the force, utility is the principle, and books are the basis. They're all related to the books. All the four things that Prabhupada wanted are all related. Purity is there because we get the understanding of what purity is in the books. They're the basis. The preaching, how are you going to preach if you don't know the philosophy? That's the books. And then utility is the principle. The most effective way to spread Krishna consciousness is through the profuse distribution of literature. So we're all unified. That's what we should be doing. And then Maya comes in to distract us from that activity. You ask all these people that are on these massive posts on Facebook, how many books did you distribute while you were writing that? How much time did you waste that you could have been out distributing books? And what good is it going to do? You'll say this post, and someone will always argue with it and have a problem with it. So they'll come on with theirs, and someone will come on with theirs, and then so much time is wasted. It doesn't say criticizing people is the basis. It says books are the basis. The reading of them and the distribution of them. What do you do with a book? There's only two things you can do with a book. You either read it or you give it to someone. There's not much else you can do with a book, right? I suppose you could use it to prop a table up that's got one leg shorter than the other. But generally, there's only two uses of a book. One is to read it, and the other is to give it to somebody else. And that's the basis. Dadati Pataginati Gui Maxi Prititi, Bongtai Bochai Chicheva, Sadvadim Pratilakshmi. Prabhupada said, we've created this society just to have these give and take exchanges. You give the book, you take the donation. You take the donation, you give the book. Give and take. Yes, Rain's Guru.
Hare Krishna. I was reading Vasheshi Prabhu book, The Four Questions, and he's saying we should, rather than to become upset that nothing is working out for us, try to see everything through the eyes of service. And how can it be a service at this point? Because sometimes like a lot of these annoy us, but then when we have this vision of the service, I mean, we can see that actually everyone else also is going through a struggle, or they're also trying to be part of some sort of little service they're trying to do, and then how can we help? How can we not get upset, and how can we also help by also rendering service? So change the vision, because sometimes it might be a day since everything goes wrong. The car is not starting up. Someone crosses the road at the wrong time. You go to your you get your whatever coffee on your coffee shop, and the person is doesn't know what he's doing, so you get upset after one thing and another. So rather than trying to see where everyone else is going through, they're also going through different struggles.
That's empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy. That's what nonviolent communication is. They say there's two types of language. Do you know the two types of language, Shannon? There's giraffe language and there's jackal language. The giraffe is the animal with the biggest heart. So the giraffe always speaks from the heart to the person's heart. And the jackal is always on the mental platform. And it's just yapping and barking at everybody. So I had to translate when people are saying things, what's the feeling and the need behind it? Try and understand that. And then that's empathy is, a lot of the counseling techniques, it's just to be able to listen to the person. And when a person is speaking to somebody that's listening to him, he hears himself as well. And quite often, by hearing himself being heard by somebody, he's able to offer the solution himself. So the counselor doesn't have to really do very much other than just facilitate him getting it off his chest and then working out what the solution is himself. So what do you think, Jayananda? What's a good way to become more conversant with psychology? Should we leave ISKCON for a couple of years and go and take a degree in psychology?
I think Patrick Tatman was doing psychology at university, but he dropped it and took something else instead, so we could get into ISKCON. So maybe we could ask him.
Yeah, we could ask others. How do you think you would tackle psychology? How would you become more conversant with psychology as a practicing Hare Krishna?
Study.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can handle it. Also, like,
Psychology is very practical. And it's something that we
Yeah.
kind of realize as we're going through our lives. You know, it just takes a bit of like this. You know, you have to keep your eyes open and observe. A lot of using your eyes and not your mouth. You know, using your ears, using your heart, as you're saying as well.
You won't find anywhere in Srila Prabhupada's books that he explains with a diagram how to change a spark plug in a car. But at the same time, he asks us to go from A to B. To get from A to B, you need to know how a car functions to some degree. You have to check the oil and water. In the same way, to get from A to B, you'd have to know something about psychology. You say, oh, well, it probably doesn't mention anything about it in the books. There's a lot of things he doesn't mention about in the books, but if you want to achieve what he's asking you to do in the books, you will have to learn these other forms of how to deal with the material energy.
So it also says that the spiritual master knows the material. No, it's in the Upanishads, right? It mentions is it the spiritual master or the spiritual person knows the material energy and the spiritual energy just as well.
Is that the process of nescience?
I'm not sure. It's in the
Side by side, Prabhupada says, yeah. Side by side.
Upanishads.
And Srila Prabhupada was a master of psychology, you know, the way he dealt with people. There was one time he was talking in this, he was staying somewhere and they'd been using the laundry room or something. And in the middle of it, giving a lecture in front of all these people in a hall, this Chinese laundry woman burst in. She started chanting, and Srila Prabhupada stopped and he looked at it and then he made an announcement in the microphone. He goes, Chinese laundry woman. And everyone started laughing, you know, and then she heard what he'd said and she started laughing as well. Such an expert way of dealing with it, you know. Another time there was somebody there that looked like they could be nasty. Prabhupada offered the apple and the knife. So the person could choose to take a piece of the apple or he could take the knife and stab Srila Prabhupada, and he took the piece of apple. So he was basically saying, do you want to be my friend or do you want to be my enemy? You choose.
I've got the verse it's mantra 11 of Sri Upanishads. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality.
That's a really nice one, yeah. That's a really good point. The process of nescience, yeah. Because you could just say, oh, it's Maya. But it's a process. And if you know the process, you can reverse the process. But if you don't know what the process is, then how are you going to get free from it? It's a very simplistic idea. Oh, I'll just chant Hare Krishna, and then everything will be fine. And how to chant Hare Krishna. Prajendananda just shared this really far up quote from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. There's 3 ways of chanting Hare Krishna: loud and perceptibly, half loud and half imperceptible, and manasa, which is you're chanting it almost inaudibly, imperceptibly, and it's mainly in the mind. So it becomes more like a prayer, You're pleading. You don't fall asleep if you chant like that. But if you're falling asleep, it means you're not fully engaged. The consciousness is not occupied with something which is going to stimulate it. So then you just become dragged down. So then the best thing is just to keep walking. It may seem like, oh, this is really austere to walk, but it's actually a very good exercise to walk. And you'll break through the tired barrier if you just keep walking and walking and walking. Even if you feel like your leg gets sore, you can just walk it off after a certain point. It's a very good exercise for the body. Better than jogging, just to walk. So if you walk up and down for 2 hours, that's like 10,000 steps. And it'll be really good for your health. It'll be good for your japa. Especially if you're walking, and then every time you sit down, you sleep. Then just stay walking. This time was made for walking, and that's just what I'll do. One of these days I'm going to chant my japa and walk all over you. Okay, so we'll finish there. So this Monday, we're doing a Sangha, Sankirtan Sangha, with the devotees in Budapest. It'll be 7 o'clock their time, 6 hours. And just talking about the challenges and the inspirations for doing Sankirtan.
Next one. From the next one. From the next one.
Yeah, 26th I think it is. 26th.
Jai.
Oh, maybe not, 24. Jai, ISKCON Guru in the key. Srila Prabhupada key. Gaur Premanandi. Very well. All of you key.